The body of this model corresponds to the image of the brand and is not subject to corrosion. The metal of the body elements can withstand our reagents, and even in the pieces of chips, after several years of operation, in most cases, there is not even a hint of rust. But the body equipment cannot boast of exemplary reliability. So, for example, after 2 years of operation, the front optics begin to become cloudy. Over time, door handles begin to wedge. This ailment is unpleasant because when it appears, you have to change not only the handle, but also the door lock. Another nuisance that is characteristic of aged cars is that the seal falls out between the rear window and the trunk lid. In most cases, the owners fix the problem on their own by putting the gum on the glue. For the winter, you need to fill in high-quality antifreeze for glasses, otherwise, in severe frost when you're trying to wash the headlights, the washers will fail. BMW power units have always been associated with power and reliability, but not everything is so simple with Terushka motors. One of the most problematic areas of engines is considered to be increased oil consumption, up to 2 liters per 10,000 kilometers, and the more mileage a car has, the more often oil will have to be added, up to a liter per 1,000 kilometers. When servicing engines, it is necessary to fill in the recommended oil, otherwise the valve stem seals wear out prematurely. In a 2.0 power unit, the valve cover is made of plastic. Because of this, over time, oil begins to seep out from under it. Also, this motor does not like overheating, and if you do not keep track of the temperature of the engine, then in most cases the valve cover loses in geometry. Once every 60–80,000 kilometers, you have to change the electric shaft sensor. It is worth noting that if it malfunctions, the car will not start. Once every 100,000 kilometers, the throttle valve, valvetronic, needs to be replaced. The electric motor is coated with oil. The rest of the gasoline engines are more reliable, but still, it is difficult to call them trouble-free. One of the most common ailments of gasoline engines is considered to be a small catalyst resource, which, even if refueled with high-quality fuel, is unlikely to last more than 70,000 kilometers. Quite often, the reason for visiting a service center is fuel injectors, which is our realities, on average, take care of only 80–100,000 kilometers. The first signal that there are problems with the injectors will be poor acceleration dynamics as well as blue smoke from the exhaust system. The timing chain on average serves 150,000 kilometers. If you don't notice in time that the chain has begun to stretch, everything can be very sadly. The chain jumps and the valve pistons bend. Over time, the vibration loosens the chain tensioner mounting bolt. As a result, oil smudges appear from under its seals. By a run of 100,000 kilometers, the variable valve timing clutch control solenoid is clogged with oil deposits. This immediately affects the dynamics, and it happens that the engine goes into emergency operation. The situation is not better with diesel engines. The most problematic is the 2.0 engine, 177 horsepower, which, even with low mileage, can break the chain from the camshaft drive. If this trouble happens to the engine, you need to be ready to pay $800–900 for restoration work, cost including original spare parts. The issue was resolved after 2008. Also, the disadvantages of this power unit include piezoelectric fuel injectors, average resource 50–70,000 kilometers, which cannot be restored. A 2-liter engine with a capacity of 163 horsepower, equipped with a turbine from the Mitsubishi company. As a rule, its resource does not exceed 100–120,000 kilometers. The axle is destroyed. Also, there may be problems with the turbine control unit, changes assembled with the turbine. The rest of the engines are more reliable, but suffer from oil leakage from under the exhaust manifold, which leads to damage to the intake flaps and later on the engine. When using low-quality fuel, elements of the fuel system, injectors, injection pump, as well as the EGR valve and the particulate filter fail prematurely on a run of 50–80,000 kilometers. BMW 3 Series can be equipped with such gearboxes, 6-speed mechanics and automatic transmission. If we talk about the reliability of the transmission, then with careful operation and timely maintenance, both boxes practically do not cause any problems. In rare cases, troubles with the automatic transmission are possible due to a malfunction in the control unit, the clutch freezes. In fairness, it is worth noting that the problem is not serious and is solved by diagnosing and removing the error. In mechanics, the weak point is the clutch. In medium loads, its resource is about 100,000 kilometers, but if you use the car as a sports car, clutch replacement may be required after 30,000 kilometers. Most BMW 3 Series are rear-wheel drive, but there are also all-wheel drive versions in the secondary market. The most common problem of such cars is the short resource of the transfer case, which fails every 80–100,000 kilometers. In most cases, for further use of the all-wheel drive, the transfer case has to be changed to a new one. The running gear of this car combines acceptable comfort and a high level of controllability. Most of the front suspension parts are made of aluminum. This solution can significantly reduce the weight of the machine, but negatively affects the cost of repairing the chassis. If we talk about its reliability, then the 3-year rubber suspension will not disappoint in this component either. Many owners complain that after 50,000 kilometers of run, when driving on poor road surfaces, extraneous noise, creaking knocking appears from the suspension. This feature is not a breakdown and is eliminated by lubricating silent blocks. Otherwise, if you do not take into account the stabilizer struts and bushings, they change every 30-40,000 kilometers, nothing will have to be done in the front axle, with careful operation up to 100-150,000 kilometers. The rear suspension of the BMW 3 Series is also reliable. An exception can only be floating silent blocks, which very often fail at a run of 80,000 kilometers. Rear tires are characterized by increased tread wear from the inside. This happens due to the fact that the wheels are installed by the house to increase stability. In the steering, most often the power steering pump delivers trouble. It has to be changed every 50-70,000 kilometers, and the steering rack. It starts knocking at a run of 60-80,000 kilometers. The replacement will cost $500. Traditionally, for most models BMW, there are no complaints about the interior of the Teroshka, and this applies both to the quality of finishing materials and assembly. As for the reliability of the interior electrical equipment, here you should pay attention to the performance of the stove fan. It starts to whistle over time. The problem is solved quite simply. Lubrication of the motor parts is necessary, but in order to get to the fan, you will have to disassemble the interior floor. Also, there are complaints about the radio, stops clutching radio stations. Raises questions and the performance of the central lock stops responding to the remote control. To fix the problem, you will have to pay about $200. Replacement of the antenna and the trunk lid of wiring is required. The problem is relevant for station wagons. If, on the instrument panel, the indicator with the yellow steering wheel lights up, you must urgently contact the service. If this is not done, the steering wheel may jam at the most inopportune moment. In most cases, the disease is treated by flashing the control unit, but there are cases when the owners had to fork out to replace the electronic board. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.